So myself as a DairyTrace program manager, today we also have Nicole Sillette, the Assistant Director of Sustainable Production with DFC, joining us for a little bit of a ProAction review as well. And Janice Kyle, DairyTrace Customer Services Team Leader, will be also joining us to help discuss tag-related questions. And also on the call, we do have Linda Markle from Holstein, Canada, to help assist us with any specific or special tag questions that might arise as well from that. So just as an introduction, why are we doing these webinars? So with a lot of questions since we launched DairyTrace in 2020, a lot of our customer contact and communication had a lot of frequently asked questions that have been coming up. So we wanted to create a place where we can answer these questions directly as you have them, as well as provide a resource for those with the same questions as we move forward as well. We did an event reporting webinar last month focusing on movement events, how to event report, and then we have this tag related one as well, as those were the two main concepts of a lot of questions that we've been getting from farmers as well as industry partners on the field too. So we wanted to provide an option to answer all your questions about our single white button tags, how to know what animals to tags, tips on tag retention and tag positioning as well. And also understanding the tag portion of your DairyTrace portal, how it all links together, the opportunity to provide you to ask questions, and then have it as, like I said, as a resource available online after the fact. So today's agenda, we just have a little touch base on why traceability and understand who is all involved, a good section about all things tag related, a short little portal demo, and some quick tips as well. Perfect. So to start it off with why traceability, it's a very common question with the introduction of traceability module as part of ProAction. So what we've been trying to do is understand why traceability is important from the farmers level as well as the industry level. So we've been working with producers and talking to dairy farmers to understand their perceptions of traceability, and we put together a couple producer profiles on why traceability is important from their point of view. On that. So we do have a lot of those up on our videos, our YouTube channel as well, and we'll be sharing them with content that we put out. So you're welcome to keep your eyes open for new social media posts on that if it interests you as well. So if we're doing just a general outlook of why traceability and understanding what traceability is, it's based on three of the main pillars. So it's based on premise identification, where the animals are, animal identification, who they are, and the movement between the premises. And as we see in the middle, animal identification is kind of the pivotal part of traceability, as if you don't have a unique identifier for each animal, you're unable to do that traceability from life to death to follow through the animal's interactions and movements. So all three are very important pieces of traceability as a whole for our industry. So just understanding DairyTrace a little bit, just taking a look at the evolution of DairyTrace. Previous to 2016, there was an attempt to create a Trace Canada across multi-species, but that did fall through. So DFC took initiative to kind of work to protect the dairy industry and started designing that DairyTrace vision. So they initially partnered with the Canadian Dairy Network, which is now part of Lactanet, to start that process from there. So moving from that, in 2017, Lactanet became the National Responsible Administrator for Dairy Cattle Traceability, and then was officially recognized by CFIA, the governing federal government, as the national responsibility for both federal data under the Part 15 of Health of Animals Act, as well as ProAction information as well. In October 2020, myself and Janice were part of that launch team that helped DairyTrace get launched underneath Lactanet as the DairyTrace Cattle Program. So we've been about over 2 years part of the traceability program, assisting producers, helping fulfill that traceability module as part of their ProAction using the DairyTrace database. And as we could see with the vision, there's a lot of different partners at play and in connection with DairyTrace. So we have a lot of different roles and services across the industry and across Canada as well. So a general overwhelming look is we have the federal authority, which is CFIA, so the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So they provide the federal regulations for all livestock, all bovine across Canada that we all have to follow, as well as the governmental policies. So they've authorized different responsible administrators for different species and sectors. So DairyTrace here in the center under Lactanet, we are the responsible administrator for dairy nationally across Canada. There is still CCIA, which is the responsible administrator for the beef industry for all of Canada, with the exception of Quebec. And then Quebec itself is a responsible administrator for multi-different species, as well as beef in the province of Quebec. But for dairy, Lactanet is across nationally, so the one location across Canada. Now, with our relationship with Attestra, it is a little bit unique as well, because Attestra, we work with them on the data management. They help to create our database. We work together to find what worked with Quebec and incorporate it to create our DairyTrace database. And with Attestra, because they've had their traceability system in play for over 20 years, we've contracted out with them to maintain and continue to do the tag sales for DairyTrace, as well as the customer services for the farmers in Quebec. Now, for those that are outside of Quebec, when we did start DairyTrace, we wanted to maintain as many existing connections and links that were already in place for producers, so you don't have as much change with the introduction of DairyTrace. So we've maintained our very close working relationship with Holstein Canada and have contracted out the tag sales and DairyTrace customer service with Holstein for all of Canada, with the exception of Quebec. So if you do touch base with any DairyTrace customer service, they'll housed out of Holstein Canada, and they'll be able to help you with both tag questions and traceability questions as well, which is a good benefit. And then at the bottom here, we do have our industry strategic partners, DFC, of course, with the regulation of ProAction for dairy farmers. They create the national traceability requirements, as well as work on communications, as traceability is one of the modules of the ProAction set of requirements from that. So we work very closely with a lot of different partners with data exchange and close working partnerships across the board. So then with this introduction, I will pass this over to Nicole Salette from ProAction DFC to touch base a little bit on the traceability portion of ProAction, how it links together with the tagging requirements.
Excellent. Thanks, Michaela. And you can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I apologize, my camera's a little bit dark, so I'm not sitting in the dark, but this is the way it is for today. Very happy to chat about this with you. If we go to the next slide, please. Animal ID, as Michaela has already gone through, it's one of the three kind of critical pillars of traceability. And it's really quite exciting that we have a national system and we have approved tags, because what that enables you to do on your farm is link all of your farm management data and information to that unique identifier on that animal, and we can also then leverage that information for you, or integrate that ID number through other aspects of the industry. So the tag numbers are related or being used through the genetic improvement programs. Of course, in an animal health emergency situation, those identification numbers are really important to know where your animals are, who they are, how many you have, etc. And also, of course, if you are registering your animals with Holstein Canada, that tag number also becomes the herd book registration number. So it's a really neat way that the industry has integrated the approved tags for various different reasons. It's basically the SIN number for your cow. And if we go to the next slide, please. So within ProAction, It's a very straightforward requirement. You need to make sure your cows are double tagged with approved tags. So we have great little pictures on the screen there of the approved tag options. And when your calves are born, they need to be tagged within 7 days of birth. Or if you're shipping them somewhere, let's say it's a bull calf and it's going to a neighboring veal facility or something like that, if they're leaving your farm before they're 7 days old, you need to tag them before they leave. So whichever one occurs first. There is an exception. We encourage everyone to dual tag every animal, so including bull calves or dairy beef calves. But we do have an exception where if your calves are going to be destined for another industry other than dairy, you can use a single button tag instead. And right now you have two options. There's the white button tag or the yellow button. So white is dairy, yellow is beef. Except for, of course, in the province of Quebec, where it is mandatory for them to dual tag all animals. So they've been doing that for a very, very long time. And we'll talk about this. I think Michaela will talk about it a little bit later, but under ProAction, we are phasing out the yellow button and moving to the single white only in September. So just a little heads up there. But otherwise, it's a fairly straightforward requirement. What's kind of interesting with traceability with the tags is actually that little 15-digit number, little long 15-digit number on the right-hand side. And the reason why it's so long is there's different sections that mean different things. So most of the cows on your farm, or all of them, likely start with the number 124. That's Canada's country code. You may have 840 animals as well, and that's the US country code. So 124 is for Canada. Currently, the next three numbers are just zeros, but those are optional for us in the future. If we wanted to categorize within dairy, we could have unique codes within those 3 digits, but right now they're just zeros. And then your cow's actual unique SIN number, if you will, is the last set of digits. So that's why it's a 15-digit number. And I always find that kind of cool that we have that level of management, if you will, on those numbers. So next slide, please. That's basically it. There are more traceability requirements under ProAction, but they relate to the premise ID and recording and reporting of movement. But for today, it's just the tags, which is the absolute foundation before we can really start getting into movement recording and reporting. So tags are it for today. And just a note that we do have some information on the ProAction website, which is dairyfarmers.ca/ProAction. We have quick tips on there for the trace requirements, as well as there's a number of fact sheets on tagging, what to do. And I think Michaela's going to go through most of that today as well. But there are some resources there that I would encourage you to check out. Otherwise, I think that's it for me, Michaela. Back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. So next we'll take a look at all things tags related from there: tag positioning, tag retention, and just a reminder that traceability does include all animals born on your dairy farm. In order for us to trace any item, we want to be able to trace it back to that farm of origin to protect both your herds and the herds where the animals are going and intermingling with. So I will just pass this over to Janice, so the customer service team lead on DairyTrace, to walk through a couple different sections and scenarios regarding tagging requirements. I don't quite hear you yet, Janice.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
I'm here. Good. Sorry about that. Welcome very much to coming to this webinar today. I thank you for taking the time to join us. I am the team lead for the customer service team here for DairyTrace, working out of the Holstein Canada office. So if you have any tag questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we're very happy to help. So I'm just going to touch on some things about tagging, and we may be saying some of the same things, but all very good to reiterate some of these things. So tagging, so which animals? So traceability is all the animals born on your dairy farm. So again, that includes your bull calves, any dairy beef cross animals, your veal calves, free martins. For tag application, so that would be all your calves must be tagged and recorded on farm within 7 days of birth or before the animal leaves the farm, whichever is first. For tag activations reported to DairyTrace, the births do need to be reported within 45 days, again, or before the animal leaves the farm of origin. And this includes all your animals, both registered and non-registered animals. So tagging for stillborn calves. So stillborn calves are, I guess, defined as the death of a fetus before or during calving. And for some animals that, might be born sick, and they're not tagged yet within those 7 days, you do have up until 7 days before you tag your calves. So it's highly recommended, though, to tag within 48 hours. However, if it is a sick calf and not tag and dies within those 7 days, this would apply. So tagging for stillborn calves is not required if they are disposed of on farm. And producers may still have on-farm records of the stillbirth, but no reporting is required to the National Traceability System database. However, if tagging is required if they are leaving the farm to go to a rendering facility. So just make sure that you're tagging those animals if they do leave the farm, and then you would need to complete that tag activation birth and report that to DairyTrace. And it is always recommended to report the move out events. And the renderer will then record and report the tag retirement. So for dairy tags, there are allowable exceptions considered to be bull calves, dairy beef crosses, and free martins. But again, all dairy cattle must be dual tagged at birth, and allowable exceptions exist for calves for non-dairy purposes. It helps to ensure reliable traceability from birth to tag retirement, and compliance is part of the pro-action validation process. It is prohibited by federal regulation to remove or cause the removal of approved RFID tags from animals' ears. So the tag sets shown below are sold outside of Quebec and would be ordered by Holstein Canada. So we have the RFID button with the panel back, and then the large right front with the panel back. So that's tag set number 1. And then we have tag set number 2, which is your RFID button with the panel back. And then it has an extra large panel, and then it has the panel back as well. And then the third set is the RFID button with the panel back and the extra large front and with the panel back. So you'll notice that there's 2 extra larges with this. So you can get a extra large panel on both sides. So it depends which set your farm would like to use. And these are all nested together as 4. When you get your tags, there'll be all of those 4 portions of that tag will be all nested together. So then when you go to tag an animal, you can just take that off and use that, and it stays clean in those nests. Dairy tags. So CFIA has defined a specific tag number range to dairy bovine. Bovine animals identified with a tag and Nicole talked about that, with the dairy range belong to DairyTrace. Otherwise, they are cattle belonging to beef traceability. The dairy tag series numbers for animals born outside of Quebec is different than the animals born in Quebec. And DairyTrace white single button tags also have a specific series designated. So again, it starts with that 124000. However, there may be other tag ranges that apply to your farm if you have custom tags or older tags. And then with the ones that are sold outside of Quebec, they're going to usually start with a 1, and the ones with the dairy, the single tags will start with a 5 after the zeros. For dairy tag application, so this is recommended but not regulated. So it is recommended. The RFID electronic tag would be the primary right ear. And then the secondary, the panel tag would be the secondary left ear. So you would place the tags in slightly thicker and tougher part of the calf's ear. Position both tags close to the head on the first third of the ear and between the 2 ribs of the ear. So you need to have that black button in the front, and that's so that RFID readers and whatnot can read it, and also that black button needs to be at the front. But a good way to tag is to put your thumb in the middle of the ear between those 2 veins, and then tag right next to the head. So you want to make sure that the tag itself is faced outward instead of down, and it just makes it simpler to make that click, and make sure you hear that click when you're tagging your animals. And the placement here you can see is exactly where you would want those to be placed. And we do go into tag application and placing here. So you can see here where these are placed right next to the ear. So again, it's just easy if you hold your thumb there and to be able to get those tags in. There's been some concerns about the white single button not being able to see the herd management number from the front. Producers are asking if they can tag it backwards with the RFID button at the back and small panel at the front. So tagging is required for RFID to be at the front. So it is a federal requirement, and Health of Animals legislation's national logo and official tag number must be at the front. So again, it just shows you, we don't want, if you can see this bottom, like in the middle there, that bottom animal, we don't want them out towards the tip of the ear. You're going to get more loss there. And again, just it's in that first third of the head, and you don't want it near the bottom either. So just be careful when you're tagging your animals. The whole idea is to be able to have one set of tags for the life of the animal. And if you are having tag loss, do contact us. We're happy to help you figure out why that might be. So tips to increase your tag retention. So disinfecting the tag in the ear when you take it out of that nest, and putting it in the ear with it being disinfected, because it's making a hole. You're going to want to, that disinfectant is going to help heal it faster. Again, the storage of the tags are in that nest. You can take that whole nest to go and tag that animal. If you do need to retag, use a new hole, because it'll be safer, and it's going to not have an already big hole if it does have a hole. So it's just better for retention. There's been recent tag improvements to the junior back panel, and they have shown positive results in retention problems. So what they've done is, with that junior back panel, they've just made it the curvature better so that it doesn't fold over. It's more triangular, and then it's thicker in the core. Always look for tag traps around your farm, and I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. But also ensure that you're using the green pin when you're tagging, because it's just got the right length and the right length for it to click and hold that tag in better. So tag retention tag traps, we have there's a number of them listed here. So housing facilities and holding areas are snag-free as much as possible. And I know some of these pictures might be a little bit older. However, if you're noticing a lot of tag loss on your farm, you might want to consider when you're seeing if they're lost, or you find the tags, find out if they're in a common spot, and just if you're finding the lost tags, just say, okay, well, it's in this area. Is there something that you can find that they're snagging on? Twine can be a big one. Any kind of protruding nails, cuts, holes, any overlays in metal sheeting, any other things that they might be catching on. There could even be an animal in your herd that might be in that specific pen that likes to chew on them. There could be many reasons that we might be losing tags, and we're happy to help figure out that reason and even send them in to us, your lost tags, and maybe we can help pinpoint. Again, our goal is to keep those tags in that animal's ear for the life of that animal. So when an animal loses a tag, there are 3 different types of tagging events that can occur if an animal loses a tag. So we'll go to the next slide and talk about tag reissue. So what to do when an animal loses a tag? Don't wait until you get a big long list of tags. Call us. We'll get that tag reissued right away.
Hit on mute.
Hello?
Oh, mute.
Okay.
Oh, it says mute my audio.
Am I okay still? When an animal loses a tag, reissue. When an animal loses a tag, contact us right away, and we are very happy to replace that tag. We would far rather replace those tags right away so that the animal identification isn't lost, and then you don't have an animal with 2 tags missing. And tags can be lost through normal wear and tear, and we do replace them free of charge. So reissued tags are issued with the same original unique 15-digit animal identification number. So each animal has their own specific number, and we encourage prompt replacement of lost tags, again, to ensure uninterrupted individual animal identification. Then when that number gets replaced, DairyTrace will automatically report the reissue 7 days after shipping the tag. So it's under the assumption that when you receive that tag, that it's been applied. This does not include tags sold in Quebec. White single RFID button tags are not reissued, or any 840 tags, which are the American animals. So to order your issued tags, there's many ways to do that, but they are monitored case by case, date, animal, and client. So we need to verify the animal's identity, and if that animal has lost identity, we may ask for a parentage test. That is if you're ordering both tags, and that's why you do want to order them right away. And we are subject to a national audit, so just to keep up that herd book integrity. So what is needed to reorder reissued tags? We do need that 15-digit, to order the reissued tags, you just need the 8 digits of the number, which is the last 8 digits. We do need the herd management number and which tags are lost. So the primary being the button tag or the secondary being the panel tag. And why and what the reason is that they're being reissued. So that would be, whether it got lost or improper tagging. There's many different reasons that you can lose a tag, but we like to know whether the tag broke. And again, you can send those in to us so we can help figure out why you're losing tags on your farm as well. Single button tags intended for calves leaving the dairy industry cannot be reissued, only cross-referenced and replaced. So what to do when an animal loses a tag? So when an animal identification number, so you've got an animal that's leaving the farm and it doesn't have a tag, we can do a cross-reference, and that's when an animal identification number is replaced by a new identification number from the farm supply. So what happens when an animal is re-identified? So to cross-reference both animal identification numbers and re-identifying date must be reported to DairyTrace, and it must be done within 7 days, and to your breed association for registered animals. So make sure too that if it is a registered animal and you want to replace that tag, and keep that animal registered, that you're using the dual set and not the single set. If the animal's leaving to go to beef, you can use the single white tags. This allows the animal history to remain active even if its unique identification number has changed. So what to do when an animal loses a tag and it's a U.S. animal. So if the animal is from the United States, the lost 840 tag must be cross-referenced. We didn't have that tag. We didn't give you that tag to begin with, so then we need to order you a new Canadian number, which starts with 124, and then both numbers will be reported to DairyTrace. So it would be the new tag number, which will be that 124, so we'll order that tag, then you need to let us know what that tag is when you get it, and then we'll put in the previous tag number of that 840 number, and then that animal can be identified by both of those numbers as a registered animal. An animal loses a tag for tag replacement. The animal has lost or damaged both tags, so the unique number can't be read or is unknown. So it's completely lost. You don't know what that previous number was. It happens when an animal is re-identified, but the original, because you do not know what that original number was. And so to report a replacement, the new animal identification number and re-identifying date must be reported to DairyTrace within 7 days. So if this ever happens, just make sure that you report that to us within 7 days. Animal life history will be lost and no longer carries the same identification number, but moving forward, the animal is re-entered into the database for future movement. Tag retirement. So this is when an animal is disposed of or exported. So animal disposed of on farm confirms that the animal has died or been exported. So this is that animal's no longer, that tag's no longer going to be in our system. The animal no longer needs to remain active in our national traceability system. It saves valuable response time during an emergency. So when animals are disposed of on farm, tag retirement must be recorded on the farm and reported to DairyTrace within 7 days. If the animals are disposed of off farm, it is recommended that the producer report a move out, which also removes the animal from the DairyTrace animal inventory. The renderer will report the tag retirement. So if you're moving it off, it would be a move out. If it's disposed of on farm, that's your tag retirement. What to do when animals are imported from the US? So since July of 2014, the official US RFID tag with identification numbers starting with 840 are considered equivalent to Canadian approved tags. Dual tagging is still required, therefore you can order a blank panel tag if the animal only has an 840 RFID button and no panel. A Canadian RFID 124 number are not required unless the animal loses its tag.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Janice, for walking us through all those tagging kind of gentle reminders as well, and good tips to help with the retention. And as we said, if you do still noticing any retention issues, reach out to customer service to help you identify that, because for both the animal and the farmer, we know it's a valuable time to retag your animals. So we want to ensure that traceability, that tag stays in that year and saves you time as well. So we're just going to take a little bit of a look at our DairyTrace vision, the DFC vision for identification, as Nicole touched base on in her ProAction section. Just a reminder of the ideal goal is dual tagging for all animals. It helps with that traceability, that two-piece of identification in case one falls out, as we know it does happen. So currently we're at this first stage here, where that is their exception of allowing that beef CCIA button tag for those specific exceptions, as we mentioned. The gentle reminder is it will be phased out of being allowable use for dairy farmers as of September coming up, which gently nudges us over to the second kind of pillar of this, where we're still allowing that exception, but now we have the dairy tag for that. And the kind of main reason of that transition is that dairy tag is a dairy number, and because we're the national administrators for dairy cattle across Canada, we're responsible for those dairy information. So we don't have the access to any beef tag numbers within our traceability system to be able to walk through that animal's life from start to finish. So that's really one of the main benefits of the introduction of our single white button tag, is to incorporate that into our traceability database for all animals linked within the dairy industry. And then of course the main vision, the encouraged vision, is dual tagging for all animals born on the farm when possible. So now if we're just talking a little bit about these single white button tags, they're still pretty new. They were just introduced in October of 2020 when we launched DairyTrace. So we do have a lot of questions. There is a FAQ sheet that goes out with every new order of these single white button tags as well. But we just collected a couple of these FAQ questions, the questions that we've been getting from farmers on the phone. Wanted to touch base on them a little bit. So they are, just as we said, for calves born on a farm as the exception and destined to leave. So they're not staying as part of your dairy herd. They can't be used if you're keeping a bull for breeding bull. That would be considered dairy purposes. So you'd want the dual tagging for that as well, and to ensure you have that ID. And of course, it is just outside of Quebec available, as Quebec has their dual tagging requirements still in place for their provincial requirements. And then just as a little bit, couple other questions. If an animal does lose the single white button tag in their ear, then just replace it with a new one. They're not part of the reissue program from normal wear and tear reissue options. And the reason for all this is tags are the main pillar of an effective traceability system. And this system protects and supports the industry market access, allows our Canadian competitiveness, and also provides that consumer confidence as well. So it all comes down to why traceability, why we have it as part of Canadian dairy industry. And as part of that is dairy bovine tag numbers can be easily tracked within our DairyTrace database, which for now is a great disease management tool and something we can build on as well. It has potential for value-added opportunities for all dairy farmers that will allow us to track that information because it is a dairy tag information as well. And then just a little review on those CCI yellow button tags. As we indicated, they will be phased out as of September 1st. So if you do have any of those yellow button beef tags still in inventory, you can use them all up, and then when you're getting low, transfer over and purchase your single white button bull tag so you have those ready to go as of September. Perfect. So that's a lot of our content based on all things tag related. We're just going to take a quick break from our presentation here, and I'll walk through a little bit of a demo of our online portal to show you how to understand your tag inventory and how that all links together. If you're reporting quite often on the portal or the app, there'll be a lot of quick tips to help make reporting quick and easy for you. Or even for those that report with other methods, it's always good to take a look and understand how your account works together to make sure everything is working correctly. So I'm just going to stop this presentation share here. Perfect. So you should see a screen here. This is just in a testing environment, so no accurate information, just kind of in place for us to play around with and see how it all works for you. So this should be a screen similar to what you see when you log into your DairyTrace account after going to our website, logging into your portal. So you're always brought to this welcome page. So the welcome page is kind of the hub of all the information to give you quick access to different aspects of it. A couple things I like to point out is your username here. It's always indicated the username that you've used to log in. Sometimes when you have it auto-populated on your portal, when you're on your website, you always forget what that username portion is. So it's a good reminder, as I know myself, we have hundreds of usernames and passwords, it feels like nowadays. So it's also something good to just note there if you can never remember what your username is. And then we have our welcome page. There's many different ways to access the information. We have menu items up along the top, as well as kind of quick links indicated in the center of the screen. Now for our event reporting webinar that we did a main focus on a lot of the movement event reports and how to understand your premise IDs. So if you do have any questions on kind of those aspects, you're welcome to check out that recording when we have it available on the website as a useful resource as well. But for this webinar, we're just going to focus a little bit on the tag inventory tab and how to report the tagging events from that. So from the account here, if we go to tag inventory, we know that there's two different options that appear for us: unused tags and tag order history. So if we want to take a look at unused tags, the nice benefit of all of your DairyTrace tags, because tagging and traceability are so closely linked and tag orders are through DairyTrace, once your tags are ordered and shipped and arrive on farm, all of those tag numbers that you've ordered are automatically linked to your DairyTrace account here and will appear here. So we do have historical numbers as well, going back a couple years. So we have everything in one spot for you, automatically populated for you. So we'll notice here this unused tag list. So the tags that will appear in this unused tag list is any tag that has not yet been linked to an animal birth event or an event following it. So this tag is existing in our system and should be a tag in your box of the storage boxes that have not yet been used or linked to an animal. So if we're looking at, we always start with that 15-digit ID number, as that's that unique code that's needed for traceability. But then we also have the management number column right beside it as well to help make it a little easier for you to understand what tags are where, depending on what management series that you use. Now do note, if you do order your single white button tags that are with a blank herd management number, this will also appear as blank as well. So then we also have the different states. So within the unused tag states, you'll notice two different versions. There's issued as well as reissued. So the issued is the tags have been issued for you. It's the first time they've been sent out. If you do notice there is a state that says reissued, it means you've reordered that same number and it's been sent out to you. As soon as it arrives on farm, our system, as Janice mentioned, will report that reissue event on your behalf. And it will be removed from this unused tag because it now is relinked to an animal as well. And then it'll also let you know what type of tag. So you have our single dairy, which is white single RFID button tag. There's also just dairy for the dual tag sets. And if you do have any CCI button tags that you've added into your account manually, you'll have it appearing as a beef tag here, such as this one. So because those CCIA beef tags are not dairy tags, we don't know which ones you have on farm. So if you are reporting on through the website and the portal yourself, you may need to add them into your inventory in order to report on them, leading up until September 1st from that. And if you do have any questions on how to add them to get used up before September 1st, reach out to our customer service and they can show you the best and easiest ways to get that done for you. So we have the unused tags here. So this is a great section and option to see what tags you have left in your inventory, which ones you haven't used up yet. But then we also do have the option to view our tag order history in total. So this will be the same kind of setup of our list. We have our long RFID ISO numbers, as well as the herd management series, our states, and our type of tag. So now you'll notice there's a little bit more of different tag data that we have here, because these may have been used as well as unused yet. So we have a couple different states. We will still have issued, reissued states. Retired state means that there has been a death or an export reported on that animal. And a used is the tag has been issued and now linked to an animal through an event report, a tag activation report. So now it is active within our traceability system, would be the used status here. Now, a good way to kind of be able to filter if you're looking for a specific number, if you, let's say you know what the herd management number is, but you aren't sure what that RFID long tag number is. We do have search filters here. So if you're looking for a specific number, let's say animal 109, you can indicate it here and search for it to make it a little easier, and it will populate that for you as well. So different ways for you to kind of manipulate the data and find information that you need if you're using this to kind of sort through and understand what you have. And the same thing with the tag number. If there's a specific tag number that I'm searching for because I'm not sure where it is in the system, we can search for the number here. 6. And search, and once again it will show up all the information. So here we have tag number 9, and it's been retired, so I do know that there has been a death or an export reported on this tag. And then to go back, I can just reset and research, and it'll give me my whole list. Now the list does start kind of as an order, but if you want to reorganize it in ascending or descending order, you just click on tag here, and you notice it's reorganized. And now it's the highest number at the top versus the lowest number as well. So different ways to kind of change and use that to see the information you wish. And you always have an option to download it into an Excel file if you're more comfortable looking through the Excel file as well, and filtering and sorting information through that method. So now that we have understanding of our tag order, our tag inventory, history from that, it is all automatically brought over. There's nothing that you have to do. All those tags, statuses, and states are updated automatically depending on what information you put into the system, such as event reports. And from here, we also, if you're in a section and have to report an event, you could see here we have number 6 is issued, so we know that it is currently unused. If I wanted to report an event, I could simply go here, actions, and up at the top, I can go create a tag activation birth event right away. And that's going to bring me directly into creating a tag activation birth event, and it's going to populate the number for me right away. So if you are in your tag inventory section, there is kind of a quick access for you to jump right in and report an event, like a tagging event on that animal, which is quite handy. However, if I was just wanting to create an event, so let's start a tag activation birth, just as if you're entering the database, we can always go here to the quick link, the little green plus sign, submit an event, or up the top, submit an event here. Either way, it will get us to the starting point. And then we can choose the event type. So for this webinar, we'll just focus on the different tagging events to understand. So tag activation birth, it's that initial activation. I'm linking this animal to this tag ID. So similar for animals that are alive or ones that were tagged within a couple days and deceased, we still want to do that tag activation event report. So within any events that you're reporting, the best kind of quickest, efficient way to report is always taking a look at your My Available Tag option right in the middle of the screen, because this section links to your unused tag list, because we're only going to be activating a tag that has not yet been linked to an animal. So it's going to pop up and show me a list of tags that are part of that unused tag list, and it will be in order as well. So you notice we have our dual tag sets here. The herd management appears nice and bold for you to easily identify. And then we also have our single white button bull calf tag series as well under this account. So for this animal, I wanted to report on a tag activation for one of my dual tags as well as one of my bull calf tags. So I'm just going to select, and it's going to populate the numbers for me so I don't have to manually type them out. And I can verify I chose the right one with the management numbers here. So then all you have to do to report is choose the birth date. Animal was born yesterday, applied the tag today, and filling in any of these additional fields that we have. So I'm born on the 13th and tagged on the 14th because I do have 45 days to report the birth activation event. And let's say this one was a male. From that, I can at any time add a tag and manually type out the numbers that I'm looking for. from that and kind of go through. And just, this is always a helpful kind of option here in brackets. It'll let you know how many digits. So right now I only have 12 out of 15. So I need to know that I need to enter some extra information. It'll pull it up. If I try to process this and I'm missing information, it will let me know and highlight the fields that I at minimum need to fill in. So it's a lot of guiding factors as you're going through. For right now, I'm just going to delete this one and report these 2 activation events. When you're successful in reporting an event, it will take you back to that welcome page and let you know the transaction number has been completed. So that's a tag activation. Quite handy if you have a couple to do. Pull those numbers from your available tag list and report multiples at a time. And then Janice also discussed the tag reissued, cross-reference and replacement events and how they differ. So tag reissued is still an option you're welcome to report if you'd like yourselves, but I believe it was initially a mandatory requirement that producers were to report on, but from feedback, ProAction made an adjustment to those regulations and allowed DairyTrace to be able to report that on your behalf to help with those reporting requirements. So it is being done automatically for you, but you're always welcome to report it yourself. But if we take a look at the cross-references, because it's a little bit more information than needed for cross-references. So as Janice mentioned, if an animal has lost a tag and you have to put a completely new ID in their ear because you don't have enough time to order that reissue and retag the animal, we can do a cross-reference to be reported within 7 days of retagging. So this one, because we know who the animal was previously, it will ask us for a previous tag number and also ask us for the new tag number that's applied. Similar to tag activation birth, we should only be putting in new tag numbers that have not been linked to an animal. So we can go to my available tag list here again. And let's say this animal is leaving the farm to be culled. So I've just had to put a single white button tag in their ear. I'm choosing number 2. It's going to populate that number for me. And then I can type in the previous ID here. It's got 15 digits, and then let me know the tag application date as well. And if there is an issue, it will let you know, because with tag cross-reference, the animal does need to be indicated on your premise in order for you to be able to tag it, because it should be part of the timeline. The animal does appear on farm. So this one, tag number that I chose is not quite on the premise, so we would have to do a move-in event in order to process it. But for this one to be processed, I actually got a new number here. It would go through and bring us back to that welcome page again from there with the transaction confirmation. And the last type of tagging event is the replacement. It's not as many fields as a cross-reference because we don't know what that previous animal was. So we would just input the new tag number that we've applied. Once again, we can go from my available tag list here. As I wanted to dual tag that animal because it's still on my milking premise, will still be used for dairy production. And the day that the tag was applied on the 17th. As much information as I do know about her or him would be additional to be processed. So those different scenarios, you probably won't run into them quite often, as we're hoping with good tag retention, the tags will stay in the animal's ears, but when they're take time out in pasture or have some calves nibbling at the ears, we do know that tag loss does happen on farms there. And as mentioned before, on this welcome page, we do have the quick links. Something just quickly to note is there's always access to your DairyTrace ProAction report, as well as our DairyTrace Help Center, which has a lot of resources available to you, such as a lot of these quick tips sheets, guides and order forms for your tags as well, as tag ordering is still done through the Holstein Canada web account online or through customer services with DairyTrace. Okay. So as we took a little time to go through the portal, we just also wanted to mention that we have been working on improvements and enhancements to the portal and the app. As we know, not everyone uses it directly to do the event reporting, as others use other third-party methods. But for those that do use the portal, we want to make sure it's efficient as possible. And due to feedback we've heard from users, we've been able to add that herd management, as you saw, as part of a section. So it's always linked to that long number for each animal to be able to more easily identify the numbers in your herd. We've added that transaction number for your confirmation that things have been processed, as well as some movement event reporting features such as an address book, the creation of a birth certificate, a download for non-registered animals where you need that proof of age verification, and some Excel file upload functionalities, as well as some announcement features and some communication processes that we put in place as well to get you the information that you need. As well as done some recent improvements on the app too. I'm unable to do an app demo here, but we have done some updates and some big modifications to the app. So if you did try it more than a couple months ago and it wasn't quite your fit, we have made some big improvements. So we do invite you to try it again if you'd like to kind of do reporting on the go. As we know, summer and spring are coming up, it might be a little easier to do some event reports in the tractor on the app as you go throughout the day. So then just a highlight of a couple of our tips from our customer service corner is to make sure to use up your on-farm supply of the yellow button beef tags if you haven't yet, and contact customer services or check out the tag tips email blast that we sent out in February about how to add the yellow button tags to your inventory so you can report on them and use them up before September. If you do report through your on-farm software, though, please note that they link that to your account automatically, so you don't have to worry about that on your end. And just as a side note as well, if there is anyone that has been involved with a natural disaster that occurred on your farm, such as a farm fire or flooding that affected your tag inventory, you've lost tags from your storage, reach out to customer services and we can help you work through that in order to make it as best as we can to get those tags back to you. And as I showed on our website, we do have a lot of helpful documents and a good helpful customer service team as well. So give us a call or send us a message for anything that we can help you out with. We have our FAQ pages, our tag order forms, as well as quick tip documents. And we've started a tag tip e-blast, which some of you may have received the registration information for this webinar. If you're not receiving that yet and you wish to be added to subscribe to, I think, about 2 emails a month for right now, just about frequently asked questions and helpful tips, email customer services to be added to that list as well. Perfect. And just as a summary of our whole presentation today is some key takeaways. Just a reminder that Holstein Canada is contracted by Lactanet to provide the DairyTrace customer services, including dairy tag sales outside of Quebec. It's a Testra within Quebec. And so your tag ordering process can continue as normal, as you have noticed within the past 2 years, still with Holstein Canada linked with our DairyTrace for tag sales. And traceability includes all animals born on your dairy farm. So if they're born on there, they'll be part of our traceability system with those white dairy tags. In addition, proper tag application and placement does encourage good tag retention, which is a bonus for farmers, as well as traceability to keep those tags in their ears when possible. And then understanding the different types of tag replacements, of course, as well. There's different scenarios when an animal loses a tag, and it's been a common question on what to do when that happens, depending on what tags you're putting back in their ears. But like we said, anytime you have any questions, reach out to us and we can walk you through it. And then just that heads up, that reminder that the transition to phase out of the yellow button CCI tags on farm is coming up in September. More information will be provided. If you have any questions, you can reach out. But we always do encourage dual tagging, but that single RFID is an option, that white dairy tag version moving forward. Perfect. So I will just leave the screen on here for a couple of seconds as we do have our customer service contact information. So if you do have any questions after the fact, our email, phone number, and contact information is indicated there for our customer service team. So you're welcome to note that down and reach out to us for anything tag related or traceability related. That number and that email will be able to help you out.